Welcome in, everyone. Today we're taking the plunge into one of history's most enduring mysteries, Jack the Ripper.
It's a case where cutting-edge science collides with age-old secrets.
You said it. We've got excerpts from sequencing.com's article, DNA testing reveals identity of Jack the Ripper, and to add to the intrigue, we're throwing in a transcript from the History Channel's The Unexplained.
Oh,
First up, let's talk DNA.
this is where it gets really captivating. It all revolves around a shawl discovered near the murder scene of Catherine Eddowes, one of the Ripper's victims. Now, this wasn't just any shawl. It was stained with the killer's blood and semen, making it a potential goldmine for investigators.
Okay, so we're talking about evidence from 1888. How on earth did they extract usable DNA after all this time?
They focused on what's called mitochondrial DNA. Now, this type of DNA is incredibly resilient. Think of it as the genetic information that's passed down directly from mother to child over generations. Because it's tougher and tends to last longer than other kinds of DNA, it was their best shot at getting a match.
And get a match they did. It's incredible. So who was this DNA match pointing to after all these years?
The analysis linked the shawl to Aaron Kosminski, a 23-year-old barber who was already on the police's suspect list back in 1888. He lived in Whitechapel, had a reputation for trouble, and was questioned during the initial investigation.
Wait, so he was right there under their noses the whole time. This is blowing my mind. But I have to ask, how reliable is DNA testing on evidence this old? I mean, degradation, contamination, those are serious concerns, right?
You're absolutely right to be cautious. DNA analysis has come a long way, but it's not foolproof, especially with samples this old. However, this particular study was published in the esteemed Journal of Forensic Sciences, lending it some serious credibility. Plus, the shawl was stored in a museum for over a century, which minimizes the risk of contamination.
Okay, so it's not an open and shut case, but it's a massive clue. This DNA analysis could rewrite history as we know it. I mean, we're talking about potentially identifying Jack the Ripper. What does this tell us about the potential for solving historical cold cases? Could this be a game changer?
It's certainly a groundbreaking development. What's fascinating here is that it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Imagine the historical mysteries we might be able to crack with advancements in DNA technology. It's a game changer, not just for solving crimes, but for understanding the past.
It sends chills down my spine, in a good way. So we might have a name for Jack the Ripper, Aaron Kosminski. But let's not forget the victims. 5 women, brutally murdered, their stories forever intertwined with this enigma. Let's delve into the timeline of terror, shall we?
Let's picture this. London, 1888. Whitechapel, a district drowning in poverty and despair, the perfect hunting ground for a predator like Jack the Ripper. It all began in August.
August 31st, 1888, Marianne Nichols becomes the Ripper's first victim. A chilling start to this gruesome saga.
Nichols's body, it was discovered on Bucks Row. They found her with her throat slashed.
Gruesome.
It really was. The brutality of the murder sent shockwaves through Whitechapel and London as a whole. This wasn't just a random act of violence. This was something different, something sinister.
And it didn't stop there, right? It was only, just over a week later, on September 8th, that Annie Chapman's life is brutally cut short.
That's right.
Found in the courtyard of a tenement building. It's like the killer was growing bolder, more brazen with each attack.
Absolutely. And then there's Elizabeth Stride, murdered on September 30th. Her case is particularly intriguing because while her throat was cut, she wasn't subjected to the same level of mutilation as the previous victim.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost as if the Ripper was interrupted.
Imagine the terror of thinking you've escaped, only to have your life taken moments later. Because shortly after Stride's murder, Catherine Eddowes becomes the Ripper's next victim.
And Eddowes' murder, as you know, is central to the DNA evidence we discussed earlier.
Right.
The shawl found near her body, potentially linking Aaron Kosminski to the crimes. But the brutality of her murder, her throat slashed, her abdomen mutilated, her earlobes removed, it's chillingly calculated.
It's like each murder was a terrifying spectacle, meant to instill fear and shock. Then there's Mary Jane Kelly, the final canonical victim, November 9th, 1888. This time, the Ripper claims his victim in the supposed safety of her own room. And the savagery inflicted upon her, unlike anything the police had ever seen.
Kelly's murder was so gruesome that even in the Victorian era, with all its social ills, the police felt compelled to photograph the crime scene.
Wow.
A first for Scotland Yard. They were dealing with a level of depravity that defied comprehension.
It's hard to fathom the darkness that must have consumed Jack the Ripper. But amidst the horror, Another piece of this puzzle emerges: the Dear Boss letter.
Ah, yes, the letter that gave a ghost a name. Sent to the Central News Agency just days before the double murders of Stride and Eddowes, the letter taunted the police, claiming responsibility for the previous murders and promising to clip the lady's ears off of his next victim.
A promise the Ripper chillingly kept with the murder of Catherine Eddowes. It's a terrifying thought, a killer directly communicating with the public, playing a macabre game with the authorities. How did this letter impact the investigation and the public's perception of the Ripper?
The Dear Boss letter, whether a genuine communication from the killer or a cruel hoax, sent ripples of fear through London. The press had a field day, and suddenly the Whitechapel murders were no longer just a local concern, they were the talk of the nation. It fed into the growing sense of panic and fueled the hunt for the elusive figure now known as Jack the Ripper.
A name forever etched in criminal history. Speaking of which, this is where we take a turn into a more speculative, and some might say outlandish theory, one that weaves a secret society into the narrative, the Freemasons. Now we're diving into the realm of conspiracy theories with this next part.
Hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get mysterious.
He all circles back to a cryptic message found near Catherine Eddowes' body. The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing.
A strange message, to be sure. And the peculiar spelling of Jews might be more than just a mistake. Some believe it's a deliberate misspelling, meant to hint at three figures from Masonic lore: Jubela, Jubilum, and Jubilo.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Who were these characters and what's their connection to the Freemasons?
Well, according to Masonic tradition, these three figures were the assassins of Hiram Abiff, the architect of King Solomon's Temple. This act of murder plays a significant role in Masonic symbolism and is even reenacted in some of their rituals.
So the theory suggests that the Ripper, by leaving this message, was somehow signaling his Masonic ties. That's quite a leap.
It is, and it gets even more interesting. Police Chief Charles Warren, who was a Freemason himself, personally scrubbed away the graffiti.
Whoa, that's super suspicious. Is it possible he was trying to protect someone or cover up a connection?
It certainly adds fuel to the conspiracy fire. But if we entertain this theory, why target prostitutes in the first place? How does that fit into the Masonic puzzle? This is where the theory takes an even wilder turn.
Okay, now I really need to hear this. What's the connection?
There's a theory that Prince Albert Victor, Queen Victoria's own grandson, frequented brothels and even fathered an illegitimate child. Some believe a group of prostitutes, aware of his identity, attempted to blackmail the royal family.
Wait, so the theory goes that the Freemasons, sworn to secrecy and perhaps protecting the crown, were somehow ordered to silence these women.
That's the gist of it. It's a tale of intrigue and power, suggesting that these murders were not the work of a lone madman, but a meticulously planned operation to safeguard the monarchy from scandal.
It sounds like something straight out of a Hollywood thriller. But let's be real, is there any concrete evidence to support this theory, or is it all just speculation and conjecture?
You're right to question it. It's a compelling narrative, no doubt. But while it weaves together historical figures and intriguing coincidences, there's no hard evidence directly linking the Freemasons or Prince Albert Victor to the Ripper murders.
So we're left with a lot of what-ifs and maybes. It seems the Freemason theory, while a fascinating rabbit hole to dive into, is more about connecting dots than uncovering concrete proof.
Precisely. While we should always be open to exploring different perspectives and interpretations of history, it's crucial to approach such theories with a critical eye.
Well said. We've gone from cutting-edge DNA analysis to the shadowy world of secret societies. It's incredible how a mystery over a century old can still captivate and intrigue us. We might have a potential name for Jack the Ripper thanks to science, but his true motives and the full story behind those gruesome murders in Whitechapel might forever remain shrouded in mystery.
That's the enduring legacy of Jack the Ripper, isn't it? A haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk even in the most ordinary of places.
It leaves you with a sense of unease, knowing that some mysteries may never be fully solved. And with that chilling thought, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. Was Aaron Kosminski truly the face behind the legend, or was he just a pawn in a much larger, more sinister game? The answer, my friends, is still out there somewhere in the shadows of history. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.